All right, so you see it on the screen, Midwest
Welcome.
versus DMV. We are we're both from the DMV. You see the flag in Jacobs? I can't reach up there, but you see it. It's there.
Right here.
We're proud. I mean, I was born in DMV, or I was born in DC, but proud Marylanders.
Oh yeah.
Raised in Maryland, graduated high school in Maryland, spent most of our lives there. But both of us went to college in the Midwest. Very different
Yeah.
experiences. I was in Oh, I guess first before we even jump into the Midwest, I mean, growing up, how was you? I don't know. That's like a weird question. Like, how would you describe how you grew up, your
It's
neighborhood or whatever? But like, I don't know.
it's an
How would you
interesting question,
describe?
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So honestly, I mean, you could touch on this. You could touch on this too, but I would kind of say it was almost a tense area to grow up in. Like with especially near the end of our times there, with like
Yeah.
there's a lot of protests. There's like we weren't even there for like the BLM, all that stuff, but like this was before all that, and there's like a ton of protests for like random stuff too. But
Well, it was right after Trump got elected our senior year,
yeah,
and then inaugurated that February before we graduated. So it was tons of stuff around that.
yeah, a lot with that, and just in general, there's a lot of people are more uptight about what you say. I mean, obviously that's good. You want that, but you don't want it all
It's
the time, I guess.
exhausting. It's
Yeah,
exhausting to have to deal with. Like, there's no it, to what you were saying about like just the pressure. There's like a need to like pick a side or to like there you're not able to just like not really care or just to
yeah,
like be unbothered. It's like no, you have to feel a certain way and you have to have a reason for feeling a certain way. And someone's
yep,
gonna talk to you about that and tell you why yours is wrong or something about it.
yep,
Like it's the stakes are too high. And then especially in our area, it was like suburban DC,
yep.
everyone's families or like everyone's parents damn
And
near like had someone who was like everyone knew someone who was working in government somehow or who knew someone who was working for a campaign or was having dinner with
yep,
someone or whatever like this. Everyone had connections, so everyone had a stake in it and had to pick a side through that, which was just
it was tough.
exhausting. It's not
Yeah,
fun to deal with.
it wasn't no, but just in general, like the culture there was it was very unique. It was very
I
people
love
were
home.
friendly. I love it. Oh, I love it. But people
Love
are
home.
friendly, but I would say almost they're more selfish in a way. I wouldn't say that they're mean or rude, but they people care about more people care more about themselves in the culture we grew up in, which is fine. But I think as we get into talking about more things, like later on with the Midwest of
Yeah.
how nice people are, it really kind of stuck out to me how in a way, they almost were rude for not offering up some things
Yeah.
back in high school, back in those days. But I mean, we'll get into that later more.
Yeah, no, I think it is just, and this might be, I'm willing to acknowledge that this might be specific to the East Coast, like this feeling. I know that, like, I don't know, neither one of us is from New York, obviously, like, spent a good amount of time there, but I think just the general East Coast, like, just that idea of New York, like the city that never sleeps, like, stuff is constantly going on. I think that is just the East Coast energy. Like, stuff is constantly moving, stuff is constantly happening.
Everything's
And
important.
that's exactly, and that's where the selfishness comes in is like, I'm not going to wait for you. It's like, no, I have to keep moving because if I don't, everything else is going to
Yep.
leave me behind. So it's cool if there are people with me for this, but I'm not counting on it. Like it's about me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's a very different mentality and just different like pace of life than what we experienced going to
You
school.
kind of have to
So
prioritize yourself and your family back home and the
yes.
people you care about, your friends, whoever. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to me how every area of the country though has like its own reputations with culture too. Like even now living in Florida, like you know what people are like considered here. Like it's not like the culture here is like a
It's a
very
crazy state.
unique. Even just going from here to Texas to California, everywhere across the U.S. And that I mean, this kind of leads into our next point, but like it, everywhere has its own reputation. Like, and it's kind of just unique to see that, especially with the Midwest. And
Yeah.
we'll get into that here in a sec.
Yeah, but like I said, we love the DMV. obviously, but moved out to the Midwest. Obviously, I'm still. People call. What do you think Oklahoma is the Midwest or the South? What would you call it?
That's a tough one. I definitely.
Because
I
I've
don't
had
think I would say South. I don't.
people have gotten mad at me for saying it's the South or for saying it's the Midwest. They're like, no, it's the South. I'm like, where are
The
you?
thing is, I don't consider it Midwest either, though. Like, it's close.
It's like a weird in between. Just wanted to sort of throw that out there because that's like I don't know where I'm at right now. I'm just in Oklahoma, which is like
You're in
a.
the middle. You're in the middle of the
I'm just
Midwest.
in the. We're just middle of
South.
the real Midwest South.
Exactly.
I don't know, a weird region, but yeah, we're gonna put up the Midwest and the DMV up against each other. We're pitting them up against each other. We're gonna see which region
Yep.
I guess which region is better. What comes up?
Victorious.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Which I mean, I
All
guess
right.
kind of means it kind of shows where we want to live and stuff like that. But we won't let it decide that. Obviously.
No.
I love home too.
Yeah, I would say I'm going back
Can't
to the
disrespect
DMV.
my home like that.
Yeah, no. Even if DMV loses, we're going back. But yeah, first thing I guess is hospitality. It's not Southern hospitality quite, even though Oklahomans might like to say it is. But Midwestern hospitality is like a very different thing. And I know we've had this conversation a lot recently. It was in our Lost episode with Matt Cohen. But small talk does not exist on the East Coast in the same way
No.
at all. If I'm on the metro and someone tries, and I got my headphones in, and someone tries to say something to me, or like I'm walking down the street and someone tries to say something to me, I'm not even like acknowledging.
Keep walking.
Not even. No, like if someone said something, like if I was with people and someone acknowledged, I'll be like, yo, what we doing? Come on, this is poor group mentality. Like we gotta just keep it moving. This is not what we're supposed to do. But in the Midwest, like small talk is, I feel like that is a majority of how people interact with each other. Like it is just a very different existence. I don't know. How do you feel like, how is it in Wisconsin? Because I don't know. I guess it's different regions of the Midwest. So how do you?
It honestly, it's very different from just from home in general. Like people are going out of their way to help you. It's
Yeah.
unlike anything you've ever seen in a way. Like just everyone I know from there, like from my girlfriend's uncle, essentially, he lives in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. He's gonna drive down to Madison to pick up all my girlfriend's stuff, keep it at his place for part of the summer, and then he's gonna drive it back down to Chicago. Like, who just offers to do that? Like, that's just it's obviously it's family in that case, but I've
Still,
had very
I don't know. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know if maybe my shout out to my aunts and my uncles, but I wouldn't even expect them to do that. I don't know if I would ask them to do that. So it's a different thing.
That, and then like also just in general, everyone's like, "Oh, do you need a ride to the airport in Milwaukee, to Chicago?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, sure." Like, I'm not gonna say no. Like, I would definitely take that. And I feel like everyone has that mindset, like look out for others. And like as we were saying before, like people are prioritizing themselves back at home. In the Midwest, I think that people obviously they're prioritizing themselves at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really seem like it. They might be putting on more of a look or facade, if you will. But I think they do a good job of really looking out for one another there, prioritizing everyone, if you will.
Yeah, no. It is a very different feel. And even towards the political stuff and just like the charged nature of like how it felt at home. That's the one thing is like I feel like Missouri in particular, I don't know how Wisconsin votes, but Missouri is
Mm-hmm.
like very, very different politically than it was back home. And that was like something that was like one of the main questions I got from people, or even being in Oklahoma now. It's like, oh my gosh, like what's it like out there? Like how do people treat you? Like, oh, I couldn't be around all of those people. I see how they vote. And it's like I feel like people here, like random people here, would be nicer to me than random people back home, kind of regardless of that. Like all of the negative things that you would like all the negative preconceived notions that like you have about people from certain regions or whatever. I feel like people
Mm-hmm.
in the Midwest don't have that when they're interacting with you personally. Obviously, there's some outliers to that. You know, there's some people who,
Definitely.
whatever, it's going to be what it is, but that exists everywhere. I feel like people are just like if you are willing to like be open and personable and like bring yourself to that level, then people are willing to do the same thing with you. I feel like it's much more of a mutual respect type of culture. Like
Oh,
on the East
100.
Coast, like it's like I feel like there's an attitude back home of like you have to earn that respect from someone. That's not just going to be
Yep.
given. You have to earn that or deserve that in some way. But in the Midwest, that's like just give it. Like that's the instinct is to give that initially, and then if it's a mistake to give it, then that's a different thing. But like
You
just
take
giving
it
it
back, but
initially,
it's
yeah,
a great
yeah,
way
you
to
could,
describe it, honestly. Well described. And I mean, like on that note, everyone's just so nice. Like
yeah,
it, just in general, everyone is so nice. You'll see it everywhere. It's immediately if you ever go to any state area in the Midwest. That's the first thing you'll probably recognize. If it's a gas station, if it's a restaurant, if it's a just walking around and walking by a stranger and they point you in the right direction, it's very noticeable. And
yeah.
Midwest best is kind of a thing. What is it? What is the exact Midwestern niceness? What is it?
I don't know. I said Midwestern hospitality, but it's like
Hospitality? Yeah, that's
Southern
what it is.
Southern hospitality is like the real thing. I don't know. I'm sure they have
But
some.
I think Midwestern hospitality should be a thing. I think
We're
that's
making it a thing. We're
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 making a
making it a
thing,
thing now. It's a thing.
and I think that's pretty clear which way our vote leans on this one here. I
Yeah.
mean,
So I guess on this one, Midwest, pretty easy. I just need to throw this picture in here. Yeah, Midwest won.
easily there.
We're gonna take that out now. Midwest won nothing. So
There they go.
next one, next topic of discussion, I guess, slang. Um,
Yep.
Conversational, we're talking about it's easier to have conversations with people in the Midwest, but how we have those conversations. I guess it says here we also don't talk the same on the East Coast, and that's because we don't at all. It is very
It's
different.
so
We're like,
different.
I mean, I'll let you kind of. How was your like transition initially from school? Because mine was nuts.
It's a tough transition, honestly. Like you kind of, I mean, obviously as a freshman, like or coming into college, I had a ton of slang like hip, like random things that I almost like expected people to know of, but they
Yeah,
didn't. And I kind of wanted to be able to use these words, and like it's in my daily lingo to the point where I was almost like filtering myself in a weird way. It's like kind of how you filter yourself at home, almost with your parents, stuff like
yeah,
that. I was filtering myself like just to be around friends, which like is kind of weird. You don't really want to do that, but like I mean, it ended up being fine, and people understood what I was saying. But I definitely got caught up at times saying things people nobody understood what I said, and they're like,
yeah. I know.
"What?" Right?
It was so many times I would say like literally I'm hip is such a big one. Like John, I feel like there are a lot of words we use as like pronouns. Like it's not even like it's not words that really mean anything. It just like is in replacement of something. It's just
Casual
there.
words.
Yeah, just like it's just thrown in there and it throws people off. Like it doesn't really mean anything, but because people don't understand what it means, it
Yep.
like just throws them off the conversation and then they're like, "Wait, what? I don't know what you said,
What
but
was it?
yeah, I don't know. What does that mean exactly?"
Literally,
He's like,
exactly.
"Jaw like? What do you mean, jaw like? I don't understand. That
What does
doesn't
that mean?
tell me." It's like
I mean,
there's a
to be
lot of
fair, these words aren't exactly what they mean or sound like. We use these words can mean a lot of different things. I feel like, and
brick. Oh my gosh, brick was another one that people didn't understand.
that was a big one. It's been a brick, or
Yeah, be like, "What do you
you're like
mean?
what?
Bricks outside?
Like,
No,
no, it's long period of time.
length of
Like
time, long
clearly,
period of time. It's easy."
just in general, like it didn't feel like the Midwest was like as hip. If you like they just don't feel up to speed with things. If you like,
Yeah,
it kind of sounds bad, but like, I mean, obviously there's people that are, but it just seems like a bit slower to pick up on the slang words, stuff like that. Honestly, I can't really think of any slang I picked up on in the Midwest. Did you pick up or
no, I
hear
would
of
say
any, or
I lost my slang from home. That is all that
if
happened. It was a
anything, yeah,
reverse
you
effect. I
picked up on
talk
your filter?
Yeah, I would say I talk more normal now than I did when I
It's
went to
probably
school.
better, I
That's the
guess,
only thing.
but
Yeah, I guess for the
at the end
best
of the day,
maybe, but it's less fun. So
Mhm.
for this one, I guess less fun. I feel like we have kind of a consensus on this as well. I need to get a
Yeah.
photo, but
This is.
can we get behind the DMV for this one? Can we get
I mean, it has to be the DMV here. The DMV
go?
slang, it never misses. I mean,
Come on.
it's always hip,
I'm hip. I'm hip.
always hipping in the DMV.
All right. So 1-1. It's tied up.
Comes down to the final one.
They're trying to, yeah, I guess. Well, no, we have two
Perfect
more.
one
We have
for
two more.
us. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, I guess like 2.5. I don't know. How do we do this then? I
I
guess
guess
we'll just see. Maybe if there's a tiebreaker, then
tie's a tie. You'll have to
we'll
decide
make
in the
up. Yeah.
comments.
All right. So next one, sports. Um, Huge one for us. Both of us, obviously. I was in SEC, Wisconsin. It was what, Big 10, Big 12.
Yep.
Which one?
Big Ten.
Big 10.
Big Ten. Yeah.
But huge sports schools, huge sports cultures. Football in particular for both of our schools, like just
Even
insane for
basketball
Wisconsin.
too, but
Basketball too, but I feel like Wisconsin in
not as
particular, like
big, obviously.
Wisco football is like one of the biggest in the country easily. And
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that was just something that, granted, we had like sports in the DC area. It's like Capitals, Nationals,
It's
whatever,
all
DC
professional though.
United, yeah, Commander. Yeah, it was all professional stuff. We didn't really have college sports. I guess we had UMD College Park. They were
But the thing
there.
is, the culture there wasn't the same. It was technically ACC/Big Ten when we were there, but
Yeah.
the culture wasn't the same. It didn't really resemble an SEC quality or a top of the notch, top quality Big Ten quality team. Or yeah, like just a culture. The tailgates were pretty weak. The ones that
When
I
I
went to.
when I went to my first tailgate at Mizzou, I literally thought, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the movies. I was like, this is like what it's supposed to be like. Like I'd
Yeah,
never seen, like I didn't know that that was like a real life thing. I had never seen it. I was like, this doesn't exist. Actually, they just talk
this is
about it.
insane.
I was like, no, this is nuts. They do this every weekend for like 3 months for the whole of the fall semester. Like this
Yep,
is crazy.
this is
So
the life. Get used to it.
yes, and I got used to it, and it was great.
It gets fun. It's. I mean, it's very different though. Like even just not from a college level. Like I feel like especially in Wisconsin, people are really die hard about the teams to the point where it
Yes.
got really annoying. Like almost like Boston fans. It got to the point where I started to not like the Wisconsin teams, which I came in thinking, oh, I'll start liking the Wisconsin pro teams. Nope. I probably hate them more, if anything. I hate the
I would
Packers now. I don't hate them. Hate's a strong word. I just
I would
don't really
say
don't want to see them do well.
I would say a similar thing. I really like strongly dislike the Chiefs now. Granted, they like won a bunch of Super Bowls, but having to deal with KC fans like who were dormant forever. They had never
Yep.
no right to
They're
be
quiet.
to be
So
rooting for
just
K.
now,
People from
3 years ago.
they just popped up because Mahomes decided to be him. Like it's a little bit frustrating. The
It's fishy.
Blues won this. It's a little bit. The Blues won a Stanley Cup when I was in school as well. I don't really care as much about hockey, and I fair weathered the Capitals when we won the Stanley Cup. So it's like, okay, I don't mind that, but Chiefs annoy me.
Yeah.
That was frustrating.
Yeah. No, they're very diehard about their football in the Midwest. I will say
Yes.
that. They're all the teams there, they get a lot of love. They get a lot of passionate. They have a lot of passionate fans, and I mean, maybe I'll say like our area isn't as passionate, but like comparing it to something like Philly, like where Philly, they're so intense there. Like I guess we don't have much of a culture in DMV with our sports, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we're kind of deciding this right here now. But
Yeah, I would say it's not really if we were to go East Coast broader for this, then I think the East Coast, like if you think about Philly, New
oh yeah,
York, Boston, you get into Florida, like then
100%.
definitely. But the DMV in particular, it is just like it's a fair weather sports fan city. Like we root for our
Exactly.
teams when they're good, but when they're bad, we don't care, and no one cares, and that's just kind of just is what it is.
and especially with specifically where we grew up right in the middle, kind of the Baltimore and DC. We weren't
Yeah.
in either really, so like exactly what you said. The bandwagon fans really are a thing, and like they hop on a lot. I think there are a lot of fans of non DMV teams from where we grew up, which is kind of unique, you'd think, but
Yeah, no,
maybe
it
it's
is a
normal.
lot of people from like that just have stuff all over the place. From I feel like no
Yeah,
one wants to claim the DMV teams. Like that's the thing. No one even
exactly.
really cares.
And
It's
they were never
boring.
good
So
enough
no,
to honestly
yeah,
care our whole
it was
childhood.
boring
So
and they're not good. So no one wanted to claim them to begin with.
exactly.
So I guess final. I guess I was mistaken. This is the last one. So what would we? Where? Who's the final winner for this? Is it
The vote,
Midwest or is it DMV? Who gets the last?
since it's Midwest versus DMV, I think we clearly decide here it's got to be the Midwest. I mean,
Uh,
DMV is it's just DMV is not as passionate. It sucks, but
it's not the same. So I guess our main winner here, we Midwest goes 2 for 1.
we decided.
I'm not trying to stay in the Midwest forever, but for the purposes of this video,
Yeah,
the Midwest wins. I'm sorry, DMV. I'm
guess
sorry.
guess yeah. Guess we both got to move. Technically, you're on the
I'm here.
line, so you're close.
I'm
You're
here. I'm
close.
good. I'm chilling. I
You're
re-signed my lease. I'm good.
but you're not technically in
You
the
have to
Midwest. You're
you have to
close to the
relocate.
Midwest.
I'm in the
I would
central.
have to
You're
go.
on east. You're on East time. At least I'm an hour behind. At least I'm an hour behind.
I'm very jealous of that hour. I will not lie.
It's
That hour is
amazing.
that's a meaningful hour that you have, and I miss that hour.
It is
But
literally the
yeah,
best thing.
that's we've came to the consensus. The Midwest is the best.
Yeah. So I guess
Clearly,
now. So
except for
I guess
slang.
last thing, yes, except for slang, but for the most part, the people, the things, I guess generally, you know, it's cheaper out here too, less taxes.
Oh yeah. Hey,
Practically.
except compared to Florida.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Florida and Texas and all the 0% states, that's a different.
Florida. My brother goes here. I'm not actually a big Florida
He's
fan.
repping. He's a Gainesville Gator. All right. So
Oh yeah.
I guess last thing we'll leave off with. What do you? Obviously, you're in Tampa now, but it's been 5 years, almost 5-6 years since we left home initially. What would you say is like the biggest? What's the biggest difference, or like what's something that you've noticed changed? What's something maybe that like changed about you? In between those two, how do you feel about that?
I think it's just the general like hospitality and the niceness. It's like it really stuck out to me when I like went back home on like breaks and stuff like that from being in Wisconsin, and you kind of realize people aren't as nice at home, and kind of made me like I don't want to really be there right now. Like I mean I like the area, I love my family there, I love all the people I know there and all that, but I just kind of want to branch out a bit, like get my feet wet in other areas, and eventually probably go back just to be with some family at some point, but I don't know. I don't really see myself settling there, but we'll see. Culture wise, I mean, I like the Midwest culture a lot. The niceness just really hits, and once you get used to that, I feel like it's hard to go back to like regular everyone caring about themselves.
Yeah,
But
it's so different. That's literally, I mean, my just like broken record, but I feel like it's the same thing. The ability, especially coming to like Missouri was the same thing, but coming to Oklahoma and not knowing anybody like in either one of those places, I think that's far more difficult to do on the East Coast. Like that, I could just imagine that being way more difficult and stressful and like just a strenuous
definitely,
process. But in the Midwest, it's way easier. People are far more welcoming. They can tell that you're not from there, and like that I feel like makes them want to open up more in a way that like I see tourists back home and I'm like, nah, go back home. Like
go
I'm
home,
like, why are
leave. You don't
yeah,
want to.
even now when I'm visiting home, I'm like, what are you people doing here? Get out. Like it's not like
Yeah,
it's just a different type of energy. So that's the one
100%.
thing I would say. It's like just far more like open and nice, and I feel like that's translated to like me as well. Like I'm more willing to small talk with people, which is weird. I don't know if I don't
And I
know if I
feel
really
that too,
like it.
honestly.
I don't know
I,
if I like it really, but like
it's
it's a
because of
little.
our roots that's holding us back. I think we intrinsically like being social, but it's hard. It's hard where we came from. So
Yeah.
a lot of great
Yeah.
discussions here with our first real life episode now.
Yes. This is going up.
Big
So
big for us. Now officially we can
yes,
claim sports and life podcast.
this is an entertainment channel. Let us know topics below. Let us know,
What you want
do
to
you
hear
like,
about?
yeah, do you like the East Coast or the Midwest better? Yeah, yeah. So,
Thanks for listening. We
yeah, and
we
we'll
want to
see
hear your
y'all.
takes, so let us know.
Yes. Come on, you better, Kai. If you don't comment, I'm going to comment myself. Someone has to. Someone has to.
Somebody better.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, I'll see you.